Hello, this is Melanie Guralnick, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the August 12th issue of the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The first story is Bruce Blakeman campaign AI ads draw complaint from New York Democrats by Emily Barnes. New York State Democrats are taking their concerns about Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman's campaign's artificial intelligence use to the State Board of Elections. State Democratic Committee Chair Jay Jacobs filed a complaint with the agency on Monday, August 10th, alleging the Nassau County's executive's campaign is violating state law and asking for an investigation into potential wrongdoing. Quote, "The State Board of Elections cannot permit a campaign to repeatedly flout the election law, and it certainly cannot permit that campaign to pull down public matching funds in furtherance of this subversion," the complaint reads. Here's what to know about the complaint. What is Blakeman's campaign accused of doing? Jacob says the Blakeman campaign has repeatedly disregarded a recent amendment to state election law requiring political campaigns to disclose when they're using materially deceptive media. Quote, "It has been reported that a myriad of Blakeman-generated ads rely on artificial intelligence to distort reality, specifically using Governor Hochul's image but manipulating it to say and do things that she has not," according to the complaint. Multiple news outlets across New York have reported on the issue in recent months, including the USA Today network. Between June 5th and July 23rd, there were nearly 20 video ads appearing to use AI posted to Blakeman's social media. And while most have disclosures, some are seemingly void of that requirement. There are several videos posted to his campaign's Facebook page throughout July that feature Blakeman speaking with people on the street, containing several seemingly AI-generated clips dispersed throughout them. Blakeman has also been under fire for using Nassau County GOP members in testimonial videos without being transparent about who they are. Blakeman and members of his campaign have repeatedly dismissed concerns about their campaign ad AI use, asserting videos that are obviously satire do not require a legal disclaimer. Further, the Democratic Committee Chair asserts the Republican candidate's campaign is using the funds he received through the state's Public Campaign Finance Board's Public Matching Funds program for its questionable actions. Quote, "The Blakeman campaign has been proud to convert taxpayer dollars to campaign funds and then use those public matching funds to support campaign activities that violate the election law," the complaint states. Kathy Hochul is so desperate to distract from her record of higher taxes and soaring utility bills that she's begging Jay Jacobs to run interference. Blakeman campaign spokesperson Madison Spano-Demos said about the complaint, "The fact about Hochul's affordability crisis aren't going away, no matter how hard they try to change the subject." There's a picture of Republican gubernatorial candidate and Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman. He is outside somewhere talking to reporters in Fulton County. This was taken on August 8th, and he's an older guy with white hair, and he's wearing a white button-up shirt. There's a hand with a microphone pointed toward his face, and there are people in the background that are kind of standing around talking to each other, and there's somebody who looks like a police officer too. Photo credit goes to Emily Barnes via USA Today Network. The next story is Monroe County approves $160,000 border security grant despite concerns, by Korea Weaver. After receiving mixed reviews from several community members, the Monroe County Legislature passed the $160,000 Operation Stone Garden grant in a 17-12 vote during their meeting on August 11th. Operation Stone Garden is a federal grant program administered by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, a component of the Department of Homeland Security. The program provides funding to state, local, and tribal law enforcement agencies to use toward enhancing border security and operations. Monroe County first joined the Federal Border Security Grant Program in 2009 and has renewed the grant annually. In addition to increasing operational capabilities, funds are intended to be used for operational overtime during details for the Sheriff's Office and the towns of Greece, Irondequoit, and Webster. Legislator Listra Bartholomew McCoy said she supports Monroe County's continued participation in Operation Stone Garden, but understands the concern about accepting federal dollars from the current administration. Quote, "I understand why people would question whether accepting federal funding could come with expectations or consequences that conflict with our values, our state values, or our role of government. That was a concern for me as well," McCoy said. "For me, this vote ultimately comes down to whether we can accept those resources while maintaining local control, following New York State's law, and protecting the people that we represent. I believe we can." Legislator Dave Long also supported the program and said the grant strictly focuses on public safety, terrorism prevention, and combating cross-border trafficking along Lake Ontario. Quote, "The program does not empower local deputies to enforce federal immigration law. I would not support that, and I would not vote for that," Long said. "What it does do is help our local taxpayers by bringing in funds to cover specialized equipment and overtime that would otherwise fall to our county residents." Legislator Rose Bonnick said she supports public safety, the Sheriff's Office, and making sure law enforcement have the resources that they need to protect residents, but does not believe every federal dollar is worth accepting. Quote, "Let us give our Sheriff's Office the resources it needs without unnecessarily tying those resources for federal immigration enforcement infrastructure," Bonnick said. "Yes, it's $160,000 in real money and $160,000 that taxpayers would not be responsible for. However, Operation Stone Garden is not simply a check that arrives without strings attached." Legislator Linda Hassman also explained her decision to vote no against Operation Stone Garden. Hassman said she is deeply concerned about the program's lack of transparency and accountability, the potential increased racial profiling, and the fear it creates among immigrant communities. Quote, "I want to be clear. I support public safety and professionalism and great work of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office, but I believe we can achieve public safety more effectively through community policing, clear oversight, and policies that protect everyone's rights." That story was Monroe County approves $160,000 border security grant despite concerns, by Korea Weaver. The next story is former U.S. President coming to Rochester to deliver commencement address, by Ryan Miller. Former President Bill Clinton is coming to Rochester to deliver the commencement address for one of the area's newest colleges. Clinton, the 42nd President of the United States, will speak Friday, August 14th at the Golisano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship's second ever graduation ceremony. A representative for the Institute confirmed Clinton's appearance to the Democrat and Chronicle after students were notified this week. Quote, "We can confirm that Bill Clinton is going to be the speaker at the Institute's graduation ceremony," Wendy Boyce of McDougal Communications said in an email. "We have no other details to share at this time." It's a big-name speaker for a small and relatively new Rochester school. The Golisano Institute held its first commencement only a year ago. About 250 people, including graduates, family members, faculty, staff, and business partners, attended the inaugural ceremony in August 2025. A former president of the United States will address its second graduating class. Why is Bill Clinton coming to Rochester? Exactly how the Golisano Institute landed Clinton as its commencement speaker isn't yet clear. The Institute was founded by Paychex founder and billionaire philanthropist Tom Golisano in 2022, officially opening its inaugural student class in fall 2023, as an alternative to a traditional four-year college education. Its two-year program is designed to prepare students for careers in business and entrepreneurship. The Democrat and Chronicle asked the Institute how Clinton's appearance came together, including whether Golisano has a relationship with Clinton and whether Clinton is receiving a speaking fee. A representative for the Institute declined to provide additional details. Landing high-profile speakers isn't entirely new for the Young Institute. Tim Shriver, chairman of Special Olympics International, delivered the commencement address for the Institute's inaugural graduating class in 2025. Shriver is the son of Special Olympics founder Eunice Kennedy Shriver and Sargent Shriver, the former U.S. ambassador to France and Democratic nominee for vice president. The Institute has also brought an eclectic collection of prominent business, sports, and public figures to Rochester to speak with students, including former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow, Domino Pizza's founder Tom Monahan, former Paychex CEO Martin Mucci, and former White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci. When is Bill Clinton speaking at Golisano Institute? The Golisano Institute graduation ceremony is scheduled for 4 p.m. Friday, August 14. Students were informed of Clinton's appearance in an email this week and invited to request a spot on the guest list. It wasn't immediately clear how many people will attend this year's ceremony or whether it will be open to the public or news media. Clinton, 79, served as president from 1993 to 2001, after previously serving as governor of Arkansas. Clinton's commencement appearance will also bring him back to Rochester more than a decade after his last known visit to the city. Clinton made 2 Rochester stops in April 2016, while campaigning for his wife, Hillary Clinton, ahead of New York's Democratic presidential primary. His final stop came April 18, 2016, the day before the primary. Clinton visited the Monroe County Democratic Committee headquarters on University Avenue and made stops at Cafe Sasso on Park Avenue and a barbershop on Jefferson Avenue. He had also held a campaign rally at Laborers Union Local 435 earlier that month. There is this really wonderful picture of former President Bill Clinton taken on April 18, 2016. He is in Rochester at the New Creations Barbershop, standing outside, and there are tons of guys that would probably go to this barbershop that are all gathered around him trying to get selfies, and they're smiling big. They've got their hoodies on, and Bill is smiling big and kind of cuddled in with all of them. And behind the group is there's guys in like black suits that are his detail to protect him, and then there's police officers, and then just regular people standing back. Photo credit goes to Sean Dowd via Rochester Democrat and Chronicle file photo. That story was former U.S. President coming to Rochester to deliver commencement address by Ryan Miller. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The next story is Bishop Kearney Football Rebuild Centers on New Merger by Justin Ritzel. Following an undefeated season led by a veteran-heavy roster, the challenge at Bishop Kearny is clear: sustaining that momentum. Whether it's due to the roster turnover or its new merger, the private school's football program will have a new look this fall. After years partnered with Rochester Academy Charter School, Bishop Kearny is teaming with Williamson to form its varsity football team. The merger may seem unusual at first glance, given the distance between the two schools. But Williamson expressed the most interest in a partnership after Bishop Kearny's efforts to find a nearby school fell short. Quote, "I was with CalMum Byron Burgeon when they were merged, so I kind of understand the process," Coach Sean Ramsey said. When you look around geographically, there was not many options. Talking to the athletic director at Williamson, which is Byron Rokoff, there was interest there. That's always the first step. The team expects that up to 40% of its practices will be held at Williamson, with plans for an eventual 50-50 split as the partnership continues. Concerning participation, Ramsey said the opening strength and conditioning session had 10-plus kids from Williamson, plus the contingent from Bishop Kearny. That total is growing, though. One benefit of the merger with Williamson is the school's wrestling program, which provides able-bodied talent for the gridiron. Quote, "I've been knocking on doors. The word is starting to get out," Ramsey said. That's how you build a program, is with kids that enjoy the grind. They're mentally tough and physically tough, and those are the kids I believe Williamson has. Ramsey lost almost all of his starters from last year's group that finished undefeated in its 10-game independent schedule. As the team prepares for this fall with a completely new core, teaching fundamentals has been paramount. One player Bishop Kearny Williamson expects to lean on is running back linebacker Jackson Stevens. The sophomore, who enters his third varsity season, is the team's only returning starter. A fair share of the team's roster is first-time football players, who will look to Stevens as a guiding light despite his relative youth. Quote, "He's still a little green, but I coach him very hard. He's completely bought in, and he's going to be the leader for our team this year," Ramsey said. You look at him, and he's probably put on 10 pounds of muscle, on top of the 10 pounds he added from last year. He's dialed in, very driven, very smart. With a return to classification football and the wealth of newcomers, a second straight undefeated season seems a far cry. Bishop Kearny Williamson's coaching staff sees 4 wins and a sectional berth as a realistic goal. That's with one eye on the present, but another on the future. In the long term, the program hopes it can join one of the local leagues in the Finger Lakes or Livingston County. This year's schedule is heavy on out-of-section opponents, and rise to the level of other traditional private school powers like Aquinas and McQuaid. Bishop Kearny is heavily investing in its athletic facilities, with plans for a multi-million-dollar training center by the 2027 through 28 school year. Should that come to fruition, continued success on the football field could follow. That's the end game, Ramsey said. The administration at Bishop Kearny has made their goals very clear, and we want to be playing with the big boys. We're not there yet, but we're starting to lay the foundation. The goal for this year is to get kids to come out for football and stick with it. That story was Bishop Kearny Football Rebuild Centers on New Merger by Justin Ritzel. The next story is Wegmans Earn Spot on People List of Caring Companies by Marcia Greenwood. For the 10th consecutive year, Wegmans Food Markets has been included on the People Companies That Care list, published by People magazine and Great Place to Work. For 2026, the Rochester-based grocery store chain landed at number 2, behind Delta Airlines at number 1, and ahead of Publix Supermarkets, number 4, and Hilton, number 9. The list debuted in 2017, and this year's is based on more than 1.3 million employee survey responses. Of those, nearly 970,000 came from workers at eligible companies, and the rankings are based on that feedback. Quote, companies also submit essays that are validated by employee survey data to give a complete picture of the way an organization cares for its employees, its community, and the planet, people said in a statement. To be eligible for this list, companies must be Great Place to Work certified and have at least 10 U.S. employees. Certification requires companies to pay an annual fee. Quote, we are proud to be recognized on the People Companies That Care list. Caring is our number one value, and this honor reflects the culture our employees create every day through the care they show for one another, our customers, and our communities. Colleen Wegman, President and CEO of Wegmans, said in a statement, we are grateful that our values are made visible through our people's actions every day. Said Michael C. Bush, CEO of Great Place to Work, employees are under immense pressure, and the best workplaces are finding ways to support them in the ways they need. In 2025, Wegmans was ranked number 1 on the Fortune Best Workplaces in Retail list. There is a picture of a Wegmans food market, and there is a woman shopping in the bakery department. She's got her cart next to her, and it's got several items in it already. And there are lots of bread rolls that are on display near her, and she's checking them out. The lighting is really nice. It's kind of dim, but it's kind of spotlighted from above, so all the things on the shelves are lit really nicely, but it's not like bright in your face. Photo courtesy of Tina McIntyre Yee via Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. That story was Wegmans earned spot on People List of Caring Companies by Marcia Greenwood. The next story is City Says Fire-Prone Warehouse Could Repeat Pallet Express Blaze by Kayla Can. Rochester officials say a Buffalo Road warehouse now used by Pallet Express poses the kind of fire risk that led to the company's 5-alarm warehouse blaze earlier this summer at another location. The City of Rochester has asked a judge to enforce an order to vacate the property at 110 Buffalo Road until the fire concerns are addressed. The 345,000 square foot warehouse is owned by Rochester landlord John Trickey through Lincoln Business and Sports Park, Inc. It contains an auto repair shop and recently became a new manufacturing and storage plant for Pallet Express Corp., whose previous warehouse on Lyle Avenue burned in the June 9 fire. In a petition filed in the state Supreme Court August 6, city officials said the Buffalo Road warehouse does not have working fire alarms, sprinklers, or suppression systems, and poses a significant public safety risk because of the highly combustible material stored inside. But in a phone call August 11th, Trickey said repairs were completed a month ago, and he was just waiting on a third-party inspection to certify the system is fully operational. It's going to be resolved Friday, as soon as we hand in the inspection, Trickey said. The sprinkler system is up and running. The alarm is up and running. Buffalo Road warehouse poses significant fire risk. Fire officials first cited the warehouse owners in January of 2025, but allowed them to have additional time to address the violations because the warehouse was empty, court papers say. By November 2025, city inspectors found personal cars, commercial trucks, propane cylinders, and industrial quantities of wood and paper inside the warehouse, according to the petition. Another inspection in April 2026 allegedly revealed an auto repair shop had moved in, introducing flammable liquids and open flame work to the space. Sometime this summer, Pallet Express Corp. Leased part of the warehouse. City officials claim the fire violations were never fixed, despite multiple tickets and notices over more than a year. A last-effort order to vacate the building on July 9th was ignored. Tricky said the delays were due to an illness and additional issues that popped up as repairs were underway. The petition, however, argues the warehouse has created a significant public safety risk because of how rapidly a possible fire, fueled by highly combustible materials like pallets and undeterred by inadequate suppression systems, could spread to nearby homes and businesses. Monetary penalties alone cannot adequately protect the public from the consequences of a catastrophic fire, the petition reads. If a fire occurs, the resulting injury to persons, neighboring properties, and emergency responders cannot be fully remedied through post-event enforcement efforts. That story was City Says Fire-Prone Warehouse Could Repeat Pallet Express Blaze by Kayla Can. The next story is Explosive Diarrhea Parasite Cases Rise in New York, with 65 new cases by Madison Scott. New York reported 65 additional confirmed cases of cyclosporiasis in the latest weekly update from the State Department of Health, bringing the total number of cases reported this year to 932 through August 10. The New York State Department of Health is posting weekly updates on confirmed cyclosporiasis cases every Wednesday through the end of August. New York reports 65 more cases. As of August 12th, the State Health Department reported 898 cyclosporiasis cases from May 1 through August 10, and 932 cases from January 1 through August 10. The previous update, released August 5th, reported 833 cases from May 1 through August 3rd, and 867 cases from January 1 through August 3rd. The latest figures represent an increase of 65 cases over the past week. The next update is scheduled for Wednesday, August 19. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 13,895 laboratory-confirmed cases of cyclosporiasis acquired in the United States as of August 11th, along with 10,455 additional cases that may require further investigation and analysis. A week earlier, the CDC reported 10,468 laboratory-confirmed cases nationwide. Michigan continues to report the highest numbers of cases among affected states, with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services reporting 12,485 confirmed cases as of August 8. Federal health officials are investigating multiple cyclospora outbreaks, including a multi-state outbreak linked to recalled iceberg lettuce sourced from central Mexico and distributed by Taylor Farms. New York is not among the states identified in that outbreak. What is cyclosporiasis? Cyclosporiasis is an intestinal illness caused by the microscopic parasite Cyclospora cayetanensis. People became infected by consuming food or water contaminated with the parasite. In the United States, outbreaks have often been linked to fresh produce, including cilantro, basil, salad mixes, snow peas, and raspberries. Unlike many gastrointestinal illnesses, cyclosporiasis is not usually spread directly from person to person. Symptoms can include frequent explosive diarrhea, stomach cramps, nausea and vomiting, loss of appetite, weight loss, fatigue, bloating, and muscle aches. Symptoms typically begin about a week after exposure, but can take up to 2 weeks to develop. Without treatment, the illness can last for weeks or longer. How to reduce your risk. Health officials recommend the following steps when handling fresh produce. Wash your hands before and after handling fruits and vegetables. Clean and sanitize cutting boards, knives, and food preparation surfaces. Scrub firm produce, such as melons and cucumbers, with a clean produce brush. Remove bruised or damaged areas of produce. Rinse fresh produce thoroughly under running water before eating. Refrigerate cut, peeled, or cooked fruits and vegetables promptly. Cook food when possible, as heat can kill the parasite. When to seek medical care. Cyclosporiasis is usually not life-threatening, but severe diarrhea can cause dehydration, particularly among older adults, young children, and people with weakened immune systems. Anyone experiencing persistent diarrhea, signs of dehydration, severe abdominal pain, or symptoms lasting more than several days should contact a healthcare provider. That story was Explosive Diarrhea Parasite Cases Rise in New York, with 65 new cases, by Madison Scott. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The next story is El Niño Could Shape New York's Fall and Winter Weather. Here's What to Expect, by Alexandra Rivera. Winter weather patterns may begin taking shape earlier than usual this year, as a strong El Niño pattern influences weather across the United States, according to seasonal forecasts from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. While NOAA's seasonal outlook does not predict specific storms or snowfall totals months in advance, forecasters say current climate patterns could help shape temperature and precipitation trends heading into fall 2026 and the winter season. In previous years, early winter storms have affected parts of the country as soon as November, with snow and cold weather lasting into March. This year, El Niño could contribute to wetter conditions in some areas and shift typical storm patterns across the United States. How El Niño could influence fall and winter weather. El Niño occurs when warmer than average ocean temperatures develop in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean, affecting global weather patterns. Strong El Niño events can influence the jet stream, which helps guide storms across the country. A stronger Pacific jet stream can bring additional moisture into parts of the southern and eastern United States, increasing the potential for wetter than average conditions in some regions. Forecasters say El Niño winters often bring wetter conditions across parts of the South, warmer than average temperatures in some northern areas, and changes to the typical storm track across the United States. However, colder air from Canada can still push into the central and eastern United States, creating conditions that could support winter storms when combined with moisture from southern storm systems. NOAA has said that as colder air becomes established across the eastern United States, the combination of Arctic air and an active storm track can increase the potential for strong winter storms and periods of extreme cold. What could El Niño mean for New York? For New York and the Northeast, El Niño patterns can lead to a mix of warmer temperatures and increased precipitation during the winter season. The exact impacts can vary, depending on how the jet stream develops and how other climate patterns interact with El Niño. A strong storm track could bring periods of heavy precipitation, while shifts in temperatures could determine whether that precipitation falls as rain or snow. Forecasters will continue monitoring ocean temperatures and atmospheric patterns as fall approaches. When does fall 2026 begin? The astronomical fall season begins Tuesday, September 22nd, 2026, with the autumnal equinox. The equinox marks the point when the sun crosses the equator, creating nearly equal periods of daylight and darkness around the world. After the equinox, daylight hours gradually become shorter until the winter solstice on December 21. Meteorological fall begins earlier, on September 1, and runs through November 30th. Meteorologists use this 3-month period to track seasonal weather patterns. What happens next? NOAA will continue updating its seasonal outlooks as more data becomes available. For New Yorkers, the key takeaway is that El Niño could influence the overall weather pattern heading into fall and winter. But it is still too early to know exactly how much snow, cold, or severe weather the season will bring. That story was El Niño could shape New York's fall and winter weather. Here's what to expect, by Alexandra Rivera. The next story is Bills May Have Uncovered Another Fifth-Round Draft Gem, by Sal Majorana. Orchard Park. Across the 9 NFL drafts that Brandon Beane has conducted, he has had an unusually strong track record picking in the 5th round. And in defensive back Jalen Kilgore, it looks like he might have found another gem. It's weird, but look back at some of Beane's 5th-round picks. Siran Neal in 2018 became a core special teamer who played 97 games for Buffalo. That year, he also picked defensive guard Wyatt Teller, though Beane still regrets trading him to Cleveland in 2019. Khalil Shakir was the 5th-rounder in 2022, and he's been the Bills' top receiver each of the last 2 years. Javon Solomon has been a core special teamer since 2024. And last year, tight end Jackson Hawes emerged as a stud blocker. And defensive back Jordan Hancock's versatility makes him a useful player moving forward in Jim Leonard's defense. Now, we wait to see what becomes of Kilgore and fellow 2026 5th-round Zane Durant, a defensive lineman who has a great chance to make the team. Why Jalon Kilgore could be another 5th-round steal. Kilgore has made several noticeable plays in the first week plus of training camp, and he has also had a nice pass breakup Saturday night in the practice at Highmark Stadium. While he's doing it mostly from the safety position, the 6'1", 210-pounder can also move into the slot if needed to cover a bigger slot receiver or tight end, and is also proving to be adept as a blitzer in some of the looks we've seen so far. Quote, "I feel like it's a blessing just being able to have that ability to do a lot of different things," Kilgore said. "God giving me the energy and the capacity to be able to do that, and the mindset today was just to go out and provide for the team wherever they need me at." Kilgore was a 3-year starter at South Carolina, where he played a total of 36 games and made 178 tackles, 8 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, a recovery, and 21 pass breakups. The Bills loved the combination of his size and his ball skills, and as you watch him in practice, you wonder why he slipped all the way to the 5th round. He wonders the same thing, and he admits that it will motivate him this year and probably for as long as he's in the NFL. Quote, "Yeah, man, I feel like I always play with a chip on my shoulder because I can always be greater than what I am today," he said. "No matter if I was 5th round, 1st round, I would always have that chip because I never feel like I'm the best. I'm not going to stop until I feel like I am the best." Leonard and safeties coach Joe Dana have been impressed with his attitude, his intelligence, and his physicality, and they also love that as a 5th-round pick, he feels like he has something to prove. Quote, "As long as it motivates him the right way, and I think it does," Linhard said, when asked if he pushes that button sometimes. "He's wired the right way. He's going to be a really good player. I think he has a ton of talent, But he's quiet. He listens. He takes things in. He takes coaching very well. I see him growing every day. Versatility gives Jalon Kilgore multiple paths to playing time. Kilgore has been working primarily as the backup to strong safety C.J. Gardner-Johnson, sharing reps with fifth-year Bills veteran Damar Hamlin. He has also slid over to the free safety spot, and then down in the slot or box. The other day he blitzed a couple times, and while practices aren't full tilt, he made his presence around the quarterback felt. Quote, "I'm a big, fast, long guy, so I feel like my blitzing ability can definitely help me get to the quarterback and definitely help some good schemes for the defense," he said. Unless there are a spat of injuries, Kilgore won't be starting Week 1 against the Texans. In fact, unless he proves he can be a contributor on special teams, he may not even get a game day jersey at the start of the season. Then again, if free agent signee Geno Stone, who had a tough 2025 with the Bengals, doesn't make the team, it will probably be because of Kilgore. Quote, "He's a young guy who's prepared," Gardner-Johnson said. "The season is a marathon, so you must remain prepared constantly. It's crucial to understand how things unfold over the course of the year, especially since players sustain injuries. There's a chance your number gets called sooner than anticipated, with a young player trying to step in early simply to get on the field. Nevertheless, he is a phenomenal talent. He has been developing in an excellent environment alongside many veteran players, and the focus remains on continuing to nurture his growth." When Kilgore was asked about playing special teams, he credited former South Carolina special teams coach and current University at Buffalo head coach Pete Lembo with teaching him the intricacies that he can now put to use for the Bills. Quote, "Lembo was great, man," Kilgore said. "He set the foundation for me about special teams, where my hand needs to be, where my feet need to be, just the little basic things. And he taught me the schemes and stuff when he was there at South Carolina. So Lembo, that's my forever guy, man. He always made sure he had the best foot forward for me." Kilgore has been a pleasant surprise thus far, but the real tests are yet to come. "The more tough situations that you see him in, we're just going to continue to learn," Lenhard said. Fatigue is being one of them. You get to a certain point in camp, and you're tired. Sometimes guys start to blow some things, so I'm excited for the next week, just to see how his progress goes, and I think he'll handle it well. There's a picture of defensive back Jalon Kilgore working through a drill at a recent training camo practice, and he's wearing a white jersey and blue shorts that are tightly fitted. He's got red and white sneakers on. I'm sorry, they're probably called cleats, sorry. And he's got these red gloves on and a white helmet. And his arms are kind of splayed out as a coach in a blue outfit is holding a ball kind of near his face. And then in the background, there's another coach kind of bent over holding a football. Photo courtesy of Sean Dowd via Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. That story was "Bills May Have Uncovered Another Fifth-Round Draft Gem" by Sal Maiorina. The next story is "Iconic Rochester High-Rise Has New Owner" by Marcia Greenwood. A Rochester landmark anchoring downtown's Four Corners has been sold. First Federal Plaza, a 383,634 square foot high-rise at 2628 East Main Street, topped by a flying saucer-shaped penthouse, has been purchased by Excelsior Communities, the company announced on its website. The sale price has not been disclosed, but the 21-story glass and steel building facing the west side of the Genesee River was listed for $10.8 million in late 2024. Excelsior plans to turn it into a mixed-use property, including living, office, and retail space, it said in a statement. With its signature architecture, floor-to-ceiling glass, and exceptional riverfront location, First Federal Plaza offers an opportunity to create an experience unlike anything else in downtown Rochester. Excelsior's vision is to build on the property's unique character while introducing new energy, activity, and connectivity to the surrounding neighborhood, including the riverfront. Quote, "This is much bigger than the acquisition of a building," Amy Notice, Vice President of Excelsior Communities, stated. First Federal Plaza has the location, architecture, and presence to become one of the premier destinations in Rochester. Based in Rochester, Excelsior owns 3 other downtown buildings: 88 on Elm, 88, which is 88 Elm Street, the Columbus Building, which is at 50 Chestnut Street, and the Terminal Building at 65 West Broad Street. Later reached by phone, Notice and Excelsior has not settled on plans for the circular penthouse, once the home of the Changing Scene revolving restaurant. After the restaurant closed in 1988, the space was converted into office suites. Notice said Excelsior doesn't envision that as a future use. "We really want to get the use of that space right," he said. "We really are open to suggestions." Excelsior would consider turning it back into a restaurant. "At the same time, it has to be economically sustainable," he said. Notice encourages people to email Excelsior at info@excelsiorcom.com, which is info@excelsiorcom.com, with their thoughts on how the space should be used. First Federal Plaza history. First Federal Plaza was built in 1976 and opened in 1977 as the headquarters for First Federal Savings. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Democrat and Chronicle on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. It sits on 1.29 acres, and the portion of the building facing north overlooks Austin Stewart Plaza. The structure has a scenic glass elevator that rises to the 19th floor and its own 156-space underground parking garage. It is also adjacent to the Genesee Crossroads Garage, which has 604 spaces. The Changing Scene operated from 1977 to 1988. In 1998, the building was sold to Reynolds II LP. Speaking for the firm in December 2024, Chris Hill told the Democrat and Chronicle the decision to sell came down to the fact that Rochester's legal community, which once had a large presence in the building, has disbanded from the Four Corners after being here for 100 years, a trend accelerated by the coronavirus pandemic and the rise of remote and hybrid work. Panasonic, which in 2019 moved into the former Changing Scene space, exited after the public health crisis, Hill said. In 2024, the old Changing Scene mechanicals that made the restaurant rotate were examined and found to be intact, Hill said, contradicting previous reports that they had been disabled. There is a picture of the revolving restaurant, and it's a nighttime picture. The building is definitely square that it's perched on, and you can see some lights in the windows, and the revolving restaurant is circular with like a pyramid type shaped top, and it's lit from underneath, so it's definitely eye-catching. And then there are windows all the way around it that are lit up. There is no photo credit given. That story was Iconic Rochester High-Rise Has New Owner by Marcia Greenwood. The next story is Medicare costs could soon increase for 1.3 million New Yorkers. Here's why, by Emily Barnes. Millions of New Yorkers benefiting from Medicare Part D subsidies could start seeing higher monthly premiums if the Trump administration ends the program, according to Governor Kathy Hochul. The Trump administration recently announced it would end the Medicare Part D Premium Stabilization Demonstration Program, which supports about 25 million Americans across the country by the end of the year, a year earlier than initially planned. Hochul called on the administration to stop the planned cuts on Wednesday, August 5th, as she says those impacted in New York, around 1.3 million seniors, could start seeing higher prescription drug costs as soon as next year. Quote, "While Republicans are hell-bent on making life harder and more expensive for hardworking Americans, I'm staying laser-focused on helping seniors and putting money back into New Yorkers' pockets," Hochul said. Here's what to know. Why is the Trump administration ending Medicare Part D subsidies? The coverage is no longer necessary, according to Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, or CMS, Administrator Mehmet Oz. Quote, "The Biden admin gave billions of taxpayer money directly to big insurance companies. This is unacceptable," Oz said in a social media post announcing the policy change on July 28. "We are stabilizing the market, so this bailout is no longer needed." In response to the Inflation Reduction Act going into effect in 2022, the Biden administration created a demonstration project in 2024 aimed at stabilizing Part D premiums and enrollment that steered subsidies to insurance companies to keep premiums lower. According to USA Today reporting, the project cost the federal government $9.8 billion in 2025 and 2026. Through the project, the average monthly premium for a standalone drug plan fell from $43 in 2024 to $36 in 2026, and enrollment increased from 23 million to 25 million nationwide, USA Today says. How much could New Yorkers' insurance premiums increase? It's still a bit unclear. CMS said they'll release details on monthly premiums for Medicare prescription drug plans and privately administered Medicare Advantage plans in September, USA Today reported. However, Oz shared that premiums will go up by less than $10 for, quote, "most Medicare recipients," and, quote, "many will see lower premiums." There is a picture of Mehmet Oz speaking at some event. He's at a podium that has the seal of the president on the front, and he's wearing a blue suit with a white shirt and red tie, which seems to be the uniform that they all wear in the White House. He is standing there. He's got white hair. He's got his hand held up, and he's speaking into a microphone. Trump is behind him in the same kind of suit, and he's looking down. And let's see, Robert Kennedy Jr. is also behind him too. And weirdly, he and Trump both have their eyes closed, but I'm sure it's just weird timing. Photo courtesy of Andrew Harnick via Getty Images. That story was Medicare costs could soon increase for 1.3 million New Yorkers. Here's why. By Emily Barnes. The next story is Rock the Block to host 2 community employment fairs in Rochester. By the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. Rock the Block community employment fairs will be held in August and September. The fairs will be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on 2 Wednesdays. August 19 at Salvation Army, located at 100 West Avenue, and September 23rd at Parcel 5, located at 285 East Main Street. At each fair, the city's Workforce Development Mobile Unit will offer Wi-Fi and laptops for job applications and resume updates. For vendor information or questions about Rock the Block, email workforcedevelopment@cityofrochester.gov. For more information about jobs, go to www.cityofrochester.gov and click on Departments, then Employee and Workforce Development. That story was Rock the Block to host 2 community employment fairs in Rochester. The next story is Keith Lamar faced execution in January. DeWine gave him more time, by Haley B. Miller. Keith Lamar breathed a sigh of relief after learning he would not be executed in January. Lamar was set to die on January 13, 2027, 2 days after Ohio's next governor is sworn into office. The execution date hung over his head. He wasn't sure if Governor Mike DeWine, who wants lawmakers to repeal the death penalty, would come through. Then he got the news from the warden at Ohio State Penitentiary. Quote, "If DeWine wanted to, theoretically, he could have just left me in the lurch," Lamar told the State House Bureau. Lamar was among 3 people on death row to receive a reprieve from DeWine on August 7th. DeWine has delayed dozens of executions since he took office in 2019, citing problems with lethal injection drugs. But this marked the first time he's acted on executions that won't occur under his watch. Quote, "I intend to be a governor until the day I walk out of office," DeWine told reporters August 10th. "I don't intend to come in here and kick this to the next administration. This is no different than any of the other things that we're doing. I'm governor until I'm not governor." DeWine delays executions to occur under his successor. The move came weeks after DeWine revealed his opposition to the death penalty, a major reversal for a former attorney general who co-sponsored Ohio's death penalty law. The state hasn't executed anyone since July 2018. DeWine also postponed the executions of Scott Group and Davel Chin, who were scheduled to die in February and March, respectively. Group was sentenced to death in the 1997 murder of a Youngstown bar owner, according to the Ohio Attorney General's office. Chin received the death penalty for killing a man he robbed and kidnapped. DeWine moved all 3 executions to 2030. That's all the time we have for this story, which was Keith Lamar faced execution in January. DeWine gave him more time, by Haley B. Miller. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the August 12th issue of the Democrat Chronicle. Your reader has been Melanie Guralnick. Thank you for listening.